Hey friends, it's Mary Giordano and welcome to Unapologetically Wild. Every single day, you have a choice. You can stay where you are, or you can step into the possibility of something even greater. And I'm here to spark that flame within you and inspire you to show up, embrace the fear, and do the fucking thing. Messy, scared, and real. Let's get started. Hey friends, welcome back to Unapologetically Wild. Today we're talking about something so many women do without even realizing it. It is so ingrained in us that it is practically a reflex. And while it might not seem like a big deal, over time, it chips away at your confidence, your presence, and how you take up space in the world. I'm talking about over-apologizing. You know, the I'm sorry for practically everything. Maybe you don't even realize you're doing it, but some people say I'm sorry so often that they'll even apologize to a chair if they bump into it, like they did something wrong. And this isn't just about politeness. It's a habit. It's conditioning. It's the subconscious belief that we should always shrink ourselves to accommodate others. And here's the thing. It's not random. Women have been taught in ways so subtle that we don't even notice that being too much is a problem, that taking up space, asserting ourselves, or simply moving through the world with confidence might make others uncomfortable. And the last thing we want to do is make someone else uncomfortable, right? So we're going to break all that down in a bit. But first, let's talk about how often this actually happens. Because once you start noticing it, you can't unsee it. I started noticing this years ago, women apologizing for the smallest things, standing in a doorway, asking a simple question, walking through a crowded room. And the more I paid attention, the more I realized that this wasn't just about social niceties. These apologies were completely automatic, unnecessary, and something we did without even thinking. And that's when I made the decision that I was going to make a conscious effort to remove the words "I'm sorry" from my vocabulary. And to be clear, I'm not sitting here saying you should never apologize. If you've hurt someone, overstepped, or made a mistake, you have to own it. Apologizing in those moments is absolutely necessary. But what happens when we start apologizing for things that don't require an apology? When "I'm sorry" becomes the default instead of the intentional response. When we say it not because we mean it, but because we feel like we should. It keeps us small and it reinforces the belief that we should always be accommodating, always mindful of how much space we take up. We're literally apologizing for simply existing. And the more we do it, the more we reinforce the idea that we should be the ones adjusting, that our presence, our needs, our voices should come second. And now that I've made you aware of it, you're going to start seeing it and hearing it everywhere. You can thank me later for that one. It's not just in conversations and emails, but it's in the smallest everyday moments. My recent trip to Costco, it was like watching it on repeat. So I'm at Costco, just doing my usual shopping. And you know how it is. If you go to Costco, pushing this oversized cart, dodging sample tables, trying to make it out without spending a small fortune, which never happens. Within 30 minutes that I was in Costco, at least 3 different women apologized to me. Not for anything major, not because they actually did something wrong, but just for existing in my general vicinity. One woman was reaching for a bag of avocados. I wasn't even close enough to grab a bag myself. But the second she saw me walking in her direction, she looked at me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. All of the avocados are hard as a rock. I'm just trying to find some that have started to ripen." And I'm like, "It's totally fine. No big deal. There's plenty of room here for both of us." Another woman was just browsing one of the aisles. She was looking for something. I hadn't even tried to squeeze by her or get around her or anything. I wasn't in a rush, but the moment she noticed me, she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm in your way." I said, "Don't apologize. You're absolutely fine." Honestly, I just wanted to say to these women, for what? For standing here, for shopping, for existing? There's no need to apologize. And then it happened again. I walked up to the frozen food section to grab a bag of blueberries. There was a woman already there wrestling one from the rock-solid pile. I just stood back, waiting my turn. I even opened my phone to pretend like I wasn't waiting for her. The second she noticed me, she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. All these blueberry bags are stuck together." I smiled and I said, "No worries. Take your time. Those things practically come vacuum sealed together," because they do. Now, I know these women were just being polite, and honestly, I appreciate that. I'd much rather be surrounded by people who are thoughtful and aware of those around them than the ones bulldozing through the aisles without a second thought. But that's not really what this is about. This isn't just kindness. This is something much deeper. This is a reflex, a habit, one so ingrained that we don't even realize we're doing it. And when I noticed it happening over and over again, I couldn't help but wonder why. Why do we feel the need to constantly apologize for simply existing? Meanwhile, the people who were actually blocking the aisle, the people who were actually in everyone's way, the ones who parked their carts sideways in the middle of the aisles, completely oblivious, on their phones, leisurely just sampling their way through Costco like it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, not a single apology, not even the awareness that someone else exists outside of their little world. And that's when it hit me. Every single person who apologized, they were all women. And suddenly, I had questions. Why are we the ones constantly shrinking ourselves, making sure we're not a burden, taking responsibility for space that we have every right to take up? Because when was the last time you saw a man apologize for simply existing in Costco or anywhere for that matter? If anything, they're the ones casually parked in the middle of the busiest aisle, waiting for their wives, totally unbothered, enjoying their free sample like they've got nowhere else to be. And this isn't just something we do in person. I see it constantly online as well. Have you ever noticed what happens when someone shares something deeply personal or heartbreaking on social media? The comment section floods with, "I'm sorry." And listen, I get it. People mean well. They care, of course. And I'm not discounting that at all. But when we use the same phrase for everything, for grabbing blueberries, for sending too many texts to someone losing a loved one, it starts to lose its weight. It becomes the easiest thing to say because it requires zero thought, zero effort. But real connection, that happens when we step outside the "I'm sorry" bubble and take a second to be intentional with our words. There are other things to say than "I'm sorry." So instead of just dropping "I'm sorry" into a comment section, what if we said something like, "I can't imagine how hard this must be for you. I'm thinking of you." Or, "That sounds incredibly tough. If you need support, I'm here." Or, "I see you and I'm holding space for you." It's a small shift, but it carries so much more weight than a quick "I'm sorry" that inevitably gets lost in a sea of other apologies. And that's the thing. Whether it's online or in real life, half the time, "I'm sorry" is just a default response. It's something we say without thinking. But when we actually pause and choose words that hold weight, our communication becomes stronger, our presence more intentional, and our confidence grows. Somewhere along the way, we learned that being a quote-unquote good woman means being small, being polite, being accommodating, making sure we're not inconveniencing anyone. But over time, "I'm sorry" became more than just a phrase. It became a reflex. We say it to fill space. We default to it without even realizing it. We use it to soften our presence because we've been conditioned to. And if you don't believe me, try this. Pay attention to how often you say "I'm sorry" in a day. I bet you'll be shocked. Bump into somebody, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Didn't hear what someone said. "I'm sorry, what? Can you repeat yourself?" Took a second to gather your thoughts. "Sorry, let me think about that." Asked for what you needed. "Sorry to bother you, but..." It's automatic. It's ingrained. And half the time, it's completely unnecessary. Why is "I'm sorry" the first thing out of our mouths, even when we've done nothing wrong? From the time we're little girls, we're taught to be polite, agreeable, and easy to be around. We hear it in a million subtle ways. Be nice. Don't be bossy. Smile. You're so much prettier when you smile. Don't be demanding. Play nice with other kids. We internalize this. We learn to shrink ourselves, to soften our words, to cushion every single statement with "I just think," and "I'm sorry, but," so we don't come across as too much. Meanwhile, what are boys taught? Speak up, be confident, take the lead. Don't let anyone walk all over you. See the difference? Boys are encouraged to be assertive, while girls are encouraged to be likable. And by the time we're adults, we've been conditioned to apologize for everything, not just in passing, but in the ways we communicate, the way we navigate relationships, and the way we move through the world. It shows up in the workplace, in friendships, in dating, in motherhood, in the moments where we should be standing tall, we catch ourselves shrinking. Let's start with work, because if you've ever been in a professional setting, which I'm sure all of you have, you've definitely seen this play out. Many women start emails with, "Sorry to bother you, but," while men just say, "Hey, quick question." Ever been in a meeting where a woman makes a great point, but she prefaces it with, "This might be a dumb idea, but," meanwhile, a guy states the exact same idea 5 minutes later, and everyone acts like he just discovered water. Women apologize before giving feedback. "Sorry, I just wanted to add," while men jump straight in and say, "Here's my take." And this isn't just anecdotal. There are actual studies on this. Research has shown that women use more apologetic and softening language in professional settings, while men are more direct. Not because women lack confidence, but because we've been taught that directness is risky, that being too blunt makes us unlikable. And trust me, I know this firsthand. When I moved from Florida to Colorado, I went from working in a massive high acuity ER where I was on a level 1 trauma team to a much smaller ER in Boulder. And within a few months, my supervisor pulled me aside and told me I was too assertive, that others were complaining. I just remember looking at her like, I just came from an ER where I was taking care of gunshot wounds to the head and chest and running trauma codes. Assertiveness wasn't an option, it was a necessity. So I laughed and I told her, I've been this way for 30 years, I'm not changing. Because let's be real, if I were a man, would anyone have told me that? Or would they have just seen it as leadership, as confidence, as a strength? That's the problem. Women are encouraged to be likable, agreeable, and non-threatening, even in environments where being decisive and direct is an asset. And if you don't fit into that mold, you're too much. And this doesn't just affect how we're perceived, it affects how we see ourselves. The more we apologize, the more we subconsciously reinforce the idea that we should be sorry for taking up space, for speaking up, for being in the room. And it doesn't just stop at work. The same pattern plays out in dating and relationships too. How many times have you seen women apologize for expressing a completely valid need? "Sorry, I just need some clarity on where we stand. Sorry, I just have a lot of feelings about this. Sorry, I don't want to rush things, but I just want to understand." We over-apologize in arguments. "Sorry, I didn't mean to make you upset," when all we did was set a fucking boundary. We feel bad for taking too long to text back, for needing space, for not being available 24/7. Meanwhile, in these same exact dynamics, men don't feel the need to soften their words nearly as much. They're not apologizing for having needs. They're not saying, "Sorry, I just feel like we should talk about this." They just talk about it or they ignore it. And this isn't about blaming men. It's about recognizing the pattern, because once you see it, you realize how much we've been trained to make ourselves smaller, even in the most personal areas of our lives. And it's not just in romantic relationships. We do this with friends too. Ever had a friend cancel plans and immediately launch into a paragraph-long apology? "I'm so sorry. I feel terrible. I hope you're not mad at me." Meanwhile, guys, they just text, "Hey, can't make it, rain check," and go about their day. Or how about this one? Women say, "I'm sorry," when declining an invitation, even when it's completely reasonable. "Sorry, I can't make it tonight." Instead of just saying, "I won't be able to make it, but have fun." It's like we feel guilty for not being available at all times. Like we need permission to say no, but we don't. And then there's motherhood. Moms apologize for not being perfect. "Sorry, the house is a mess," even though they're raising tiny humans and running on fumes. Women feel guilty for prioritizing their own needs, whether it's taking time for themselves, working on their goals, or just saying no to something they don't have the capacity for. A woman leaving work on time might say, "Sorry, I have to go run and pick up my kids," instead of just saying, "I'm heading out, see you tomorrow." It's these small, seemingly harmless phrases that add up over time. So, what's the big deal? Why does it matter if you say, I'm sorry, a little too often? Because the words you use shape how you see yourself and how others see you. And when you apologize for things that don't require an apology, you're doing more than just being polite. The more you do it, the more it affects the way you show up in the world. Here's why it's a problem. You weaken your message. Every unnecessary apology makes your actual apologies hold less weight. If you say, I'm sorry for every tiny thing, people start tuning you out. Number two, you undermine your own confidence. Every time you apologize unnecessarily, you reinforce the idea that you're somehow in the wrong, even when you're not. Three, you train others to take you less seriously. If you don't sound confident in your own words, why should anyone else believe in them? And four, you take on blame that isn't yours to carry. Have you ever apologized when someone else bumped into you? Yeah, we do it all the time. But when we take responsibility for things that aren't actually our fault, we reinforce the idea that we should be the ones accommodating everyone else, even when they're the ones who should be more mindful. And that's the real issue. It teaches us to shrink, to make ourselves smaller, to prioritize everyone else's comfort over our own voice. So, how do we fix it? Breaking the over apologizing habit isn't about never saying I'm sorry again. It's about using it intentionally rather than reflexively. Here's how to start. Step 1, awareness. Start by noticing how often you say I'm sorry throughout the day. You don't need to change anything at first. Just pay attention. Keep a tally on your phone or in a notebook. How many times do you say it? When does it happen the most? Who are you saying it to? Are you apologizing for something that actually warrants it? Are you using it to fill space or soften your words? Would you still say it if the roles were reversed? The more aware you are, the easier it is to change. Step 2, pause before you apologize. This takes practice. Before the words leave your mouth, take a split second to pause and ask, did I actually do something wrong? Am I apologizing just to make someone else more comfortable? Is there a more direct, confident way to phrase this? Most of the time, you'll realize that I'm sorry isn't necessary at all. For example, if you're late because of traffic, instead of, oh, sorry, I'm late, try, thanks for your patience, let's jump in. If you need clarification, instead of, sorry, I didn't understand, try, could you clarify that for me? If someone bumps into you, instead of, oh, I'm so sorry, try smiling and moving on. Because why are you apologizing when you didn't do anything? Step 3, swap it for something stronger. The goal isn't to be rude, it's to communicate with confidence, clarity, and intention. Try these swaps. Instead of, sorry to bother you, say, do you have a moment? Instead of, sorry for the mistake, say, I appreciate your patience. Instead of, sorry, I just think, say, I believe, or I want to add. And here's a bonus tip. If you catch yourself saying, I'm sorry unnecessarily, correct yourself in real time. You can say something like, wait, actually, I meant to say thank you for your patience. Or, actually, I don't need to apologize for that. Let's just move forward. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but that's a good sign. It means you're breaking an old pattern. So here's what I want you to take from this. You don't have to apologize for existing. You don't have to soften your presence to make others comfortable. You don't have to shrink yourself to be accepted. You are allowed to take up space, to speak up, to own your voice. Because, and I'm going to say this over and over again, every time you apologize unnecessarily, you send a message, not just to others, but to yourself. A message that says, I'm in the way. I shouldn't be here. My needs don't matter as much as theirs. But that's not the truth. That's conditioning. That's a learned behavior passed down through generations, reinforced by society, drilled into us so early that we don't even realize we're doing it. And now it's time to unlearn it. So here's my challenge to you. Pay attention just for today. Notice how often you say, I'm sorry. Ask yourself, was an apology actually necessary? And if it wasn't, swap it out for something stronger, because the words you choose shape how you show up in the world. And the truth is, you were never too much. You were just taught to believe you were. And today, you're going to start letting that shit go. No more shrinking, no more unnecessary apologies. Just you, fully here, fully present, and unapologetically fucking wild. Thanks for tuning in today. If this episode hit home, subscribe and share it with a friend, because together we can bring more women into this wild, unapologetic space. Remember, waiting until you feel ready is the fastest way to nowhere. So show up, embrace the fear, and do the fucking thing. And don't forget to subscribe to my Unapologetically Wild Chronicles. The link's in the show notes. Until next time, stay wild.